Have you ever been absolutely 100% certain about something, only to find out later you were completely wrong? Yeah, we've all been there. But what if I told you that those wrong ideas aren't just mistakes? What if they're actually the very foundation of how we truly learn? Okay, let's dive into this, because today we're going to reframe how we see wrong answers and discover their hidden power.
First up, a quick little thought experiment from physics class. Picture an object moving across a room. To keep it moving, does there have to be a constant force pushing it? Just take a second. What does your gut tell you? For a lot of us, the immediate intuitive answer is yes, of course. It just feels right, doesn't it?
Well, that gut feeling, that knee-jerk yes, is way more interesting than just a simple error. It's what researchers call an alternative conception. It's a personal, logical theory you've built based on your experience of the world, like pushing a box across the floor. And really getting a handle on this idea is the key to unlocking a much deeper level of learning.
So let's get right into it. What exactly are these alternative conceptions, and why are they so much more than just a simple mistake that needs to be corrected?
All right, here's the formal definition. An alternative conception isn't like a random guess you make on a test. It's a coherent model of the world that you've built. Now, it might be scientifically inaccurate, but it's a personal theory you've put together from your own experiences. And believe me, it has its own internal logic.
The language we use here is actually really important. Calling something a misconception kind of implies it's just a simple error, something you can just erase and fix. But calling it an alternative conception respects the idea for what it truly is, a well-built, stubborn, personal theory. It doesn't just need correcting, it needs to be engaged with so it can evolve.
Okay, so if these ideas aren't just random flukes, where in the world do they come from? Well, the answer is pretty much everywhere. Think about it. These alternative conceptions pop up from perfectly valid sources, our own personal experiences, what we see with our own two eyes, the way we talk with our friends, the everyday language we use. Heck, they can even come from our teachers' explanations or the pictures we see in textbooks. All of this stuff helps us build these really powerful personal theories, and that is precisely why they feel so right and are so common.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. Learning isn't a passive thing where we just download facts into our brains. It is an active process. We're all builders. From the moment we're born, we are constantly constructing, testing, and rebuilding our own mental models of the world. Our concepts are always temporary, just waiting to be modified by our next experience.
This leads us right to one of the biggest challenges in education. Why are these alternative ideas so incredibly resistant to change, so tenacious?
This quote really gets to the heart of the matter. A scientific fact from a textbook can feel abstract, but an idea that you built from your own lived experience, that has an emotional weight to it. It has an authority that makes it feel deeply, personally true. It's really hard to let go of something you feel like you discovered yourself.
And this is exactly why just telling someone the right answer so often doesn't work. It's like trying to patch a pothole with a sticker. You haven't addressed the faulty foundation underneath it all. Sure, the new facts might be remembered for a test, but that old, comfortable theory, it's still there, lurking right underneath the surface. So if we can't just correct these ideas, what do we do? The answer is to engage them head-on. The goal is to create a moment of what's called cognitive conflict, where the learner's personal theory just can no longer explain what they're seeing. A researcher named George Posner and his colleagues outlined this really clear four-step model for what has to happen for true conceptual change. First, you have to become dissatisfied with your old idea. Then, the new idea has to be intelligible. It has to make sense. Third, it has to seem plausible, believable. And finally, it has to be fruitful. It has to open up new ways of understanding the world.
This all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in practice? How can we guide someone, or even ourselves, through this whole process? This quote from researcher Stella Vasniato is key. We have to stop focusing on the surface-level mistake. Instead, we have to dig deeper and address the foundational assumptions, the presuppositions that are holding that old idea in place.
Here is a fantastic, practical roadmap from Olenek. It starts with respect. You accept the idea and you probe to understand it. You ask for clarification. Then you create that cognitive conflict with a contradiction. You encourage discussion and let people negotiate the meaning. And finally, you help guide the learner toward constructing a new, more powerful replacement concept. It's a journey, not a quick fix. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that
anything goes or that every personal theory is as valid as established science. Not at all. Isaac Newton's famous quote reminds us that real progress comes from building upon the hard-won knowledge of those who came before us. We respect alternative conceptions to build bridges to more powerful, established ones.
So, the crucial point to take away from all this is a real shift in perspective. An alternative conception isn't a failure or a sign of weakness. It's an invitation. It's a sign that a mind is actively working to make sense of the world, and that is the perfect starting point for a journey toward a richer, deeper, and more authentic understanding.
And that brings us to our final thought. This process of conceptual change isn't just for students in a classroom. It's a fundamental part of being human. So think about it. What is one alternative conception you used to hold that you're genuinely glad you changed? Reflecting on that journey shows us the real, transformative power of learning.